Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, false flag, terror attacks, Bill Gates, Henry Kissinger, New World Order, mind control, Bank of America stealing homes with cut and paste mortgage loans, police, state, taser guns, FEMA camps, man to run, Monsanto rules the food supply while Big Pharma dopes your mind, prison system, profiteers, foundations, fund the fears, fund the evil through the years, the world's not as it appears. CIA smuggles drugs while Wachovia and Wells Fargo launder them, then give the proceeds to the owners of the Federal Reserve Bank. Now the IRS takes money out of every single check. Money they created out of thin air and leave you with debt. They want to make you a serf, a slave to their demand. They want to take your life in every way they can. Fluoride, GMO, vaccines, chemtrails, United Nations genocide. The world they show us is not real. This is how they kill and steal. Rothschild, Bundy, Rockefeller, Club of Rome. On the Georgia Guide, soldiers written in stone. Cut through the matrix, awaken to the lies. Do not be hypnotized. We are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It is wise to look to the past. Sometimes looking to the past can preserve the future. This is one of those times. Good evening, I'm Howard Nema, and you're watching Truth Talk News on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com. Tonight is a very special can't-miss broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, October 2nd, 2012, and we'll be connecting the dots of the New World Order with my special guest, the late, great William Cooper. That's right, you heard right. This is the late, great William Cooper.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you been paying attention to the news lately? After the anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing, we were bombarded with anti-patriot, anti-militia, anti-constitutionalists, that's people who believe in the Constitution for the United States of America, anti-American propaganda. And then when the execution of Timothy McVeigh occurred, once again, prior to and immediately following, the same thing occurred again, and this word extremist was used over and 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 over again. And now we're being bombarded with messages that Osama bin Laden is planning to attack the United States of America and Israel. And I'm telling you, be prepared for a major attack. But it won't be Osama bin Laden. It will be those behind the New World Order who once again want to take the guns and the freedom away from the American people, because we're the only ones left in the world who can oppose the destruction of freedom in the world and the implementation of a one-world totalitarian socialist government, and that is the goal. Now, how stupid can you be to believe that Timothy McVeigh was the mastermind of the destruction of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, and just he and Terry Nichols, who appears to be somewhat of a fool, plotted, planned, obtained all the different materials, put together a bomb of such force that it brought down what we call in the military a hard target, a target held up by steel, reinforced, concrete, columns, and he had no help. No help. And that there really was no person called John Doe number 2, that was all a mistake, and the drawings and the pictures they put out were not real people, and that was all a mistake. Well, I know that's a lie because Michael Brescia, who is John Doe number 2, the spitting image of the drawings that they put out, wearing the exact same cap that was worn by the man in the drawings that they put out, with the same tattoo on his left arm, stood in front of me for 10 minutes and talked to me in the company of Timothy McVeigh. And Tim McVeigh was not the leader. Tim McVeigh probably didn't say more than 25 or 30 words during the entire time. Michael Brescia did all of the talking. And the last thing he said before they left in their green Mercury Marquis station wagon with a puke yellow interior was watch Oklahoma City. If anyone was in charge, at least on that day, it was Michael Brescia, John Doe number 2, not ever Timothy McVeigh. They told us during that conversation that they were setting out on a mission to make things better in this country, and that they had the approval of the United States Army, who had implanted them with computer chips, had given them their blessings, and knew exactly where they were and what they were doing all the time. Michael Brescia showed me a place behind his left shoulder and said there was a computer chip that had been implanted under his skin by the United States Army. I felt it. There was something under his skin. Without a doubt, it was hard. It felt like it was square. It wasn't very big. But I do not personally know what it was. Timothy McVeigh said he had one implanted in his buttock and wanted me to confirm that it was actually there. I declined for obvious reasons. I wish today that I had not been so squeamish. I wish that I had personally checked his buttock to make sure that there was indeed something implanted where he said that it was. But I did not. So I cannot vouch that there was anything in Timothy McVeigh's buttock, but there definitely was something behind Michael Brescia's left shoulder. Now, lest you think that I'm making all of this up, there were a total of 8 people, including me, not counting Timothy McVeigh and Michael Brescia, in the research center when Tim Lesperance brought them in to introduce them to us. Tim Lesperance is one of those people. His son Peter was there. His wife Katie runs Katie's Country Kitchen. Used to be in St. John's. I believe it's now in Snowflake, Arizona. Granny Gosling was there. She was in her 80s. I don't know if she's still alive or not. I pray and hope that she is. But then she was in poor health, so she may have died since then. Bart Chow, Michael Aponte, his wife Sharon, were all there. They were working on the newspaper, Veritas. They took part in the conversation. They listened. We all gathered round. There were 2 other visitors to the research center that day. One, I believe I can find his identity in our database because he was a member of our intelligence organization and had donated some tables and file cabinets. The other, I don't remember who he was or where he came from or anything. He was just there. Maybe somebody else does. So I was not the only witness there. Full-faced liar when you claim that there is no John Doe number 2 and that you claim that you do not know who he is. He's a federal informant, and that's why shortly after they issued the drawings identifying John Doe number 2, the FBI supervisors told all their agents to stop looking for him and to forget about him. He did not exist. Because all of a sudden they realized that John Doe number 2 was one of their very own informants.
What a shock.
And that he was already in protective custody.
Sure he was. Amazing.
Louis Freeh, you are a bold-faced liar. The FBI is a subversive organization, has been for many, many years. They are a partner in taking down this country. Timothy McVeigh did not plan, nor did he put together, nor did he blow up the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, although he was a witting fool recruited by someone on the grounds of patriotism. I'm sure he was told that he was going to help squash internal dissidence and terrorism in this country. I'm also sure that he didn't believe that the bomb was really going to go off. I'm certain, just as sure as the day I'm standing here, that he probably believed that if it did go off, it would go off before anyone reported to work, or he believed that it would never go off at all.
We got to connect the dots
here.
here.
Why would he take credit for it when he's on death row and he knows he's going to be executed? Hell. Why not at that point? But I don't think he did it for that reason. I think he played his role right to the very end. And I think that the reporter that reported what she saw and the other reporters who said they never could tell if Timothy McVeigh actually died or not, there was never a point where they could tell that he was dead. And she said that even after, listen to me, even after he was pronounced dead, he was still breathing. He was still breathing. Dead men don't breathe. No coroner, no doctor, nobody in the world can explain that. Nobody. Now we know that she is changing her testimony because somebody got to her and she's scared. And you can hear it in her voice.
Same thing happened after 9/11.
I spoke to her personally. And as soon as I brought up the subject, you could hear her voice changed, and there was fear, deadly fear in her voice. And she never denied what she had originally said, but she told me that she had probably misinterpreted what she saw.
That's a good one, Bill.
Typical.
Very typical.
Of the history of these people.
Yes, it is.
She knows if she sticks to what she told in the beginning as the truth, she will surely die.
And they did
if
the same
things. The testimony of all the other witnesses, they said the same thing. There was no point where they could ever tell that Timothy McVeigh was dead. Well, if I was standing there watching, I would know when he was dead, he would be dead when he quit breathing. That's what I would watch for. That's what any sane, intelligent person would watch for. But no one who watched Timothy McVeigh's execution could tell us that he ever stopped breathing. Nobody. Nor could anyone tell us that they actually saw a point where they knew that he was dead. Until they were told by the medical examiner who pronounced him dead that he was dead. And then they believed it only because he told them, not because they had any proof that it was true. There was no autopsy. The body went straight from the prison, or so they tell us, to a morgue where it was instantly cremated. How could they do that in a state that requires all homicides to be autopsied? What is a homicide? Any death brought about by the hand of man, including executions. Whoa! How about that? Did you know that the state wherein he was executed requires all homicides to undergo an autopsy? Yet that did not happen in that state. Why? Because the feds claimed jurisdiction and it was not a state execution. Now, get this, folks. The feds have no jurisdiction over anything that happened in Oklahoma City on April the 19th, 1995. period. The ground that the federal courthouse sits upon, or the federal building, I should say, was never deeded and ceded by the legislature of the state of Oklahoma to the federal government. Therefore, the federal government had no jurisdiction whatsoever over that crime. The Constitution states unequivocally that a criminal shall be tried in the state wherein the crime occurred. Yet he was tried in Colorado. Where was he executed? He wasn't executed in Oklahoma or Colorado. How about that? No autopsy, instant cremation. Sound familiar?
Sounds familiar with getting all the evidence
Complete
taken away like
devastation of all
Giuliani
the
did
evidence
within
of the
jurisdiction.
Federal building. No independent, no outside, no civilian, no state investigation was allowed of the bombing site whatsoever.
But we already had shills in the bag. See, you had some shills in the
The
bag
building
here
was
with
raised,
Giuliani with 9/11. But they
blown
wanted
up,
to make sure it was
and just now they
all...
had to blow it up to bring it down. They had to put shaped charges
That's
on
right.
the remaining pillars to bring that building down. Heck, why didn't they do just like Tim McVeigh did and pull up with a, rider in a truck and with 4,000 pounds of bullshit in it and light a match? Why indeed? Why didn't they just stack up some fertilizer inside and blow those up?
Well, it's very interesting and important. Let this thing go.
Because you can't blow up a hard target with a cratering charge, which is what fertilizer is.
That's
Ammonium nitrate.
That's right. But it would be remiss if I didn't mention, of course, it's very important to mention that Giuliani quickly, they quickly took jurisdiction, which of course the jurisdiction was New York City. And they wanted to cover that base, so they had Giuliani to get rid of the crimes, to really, cover up the crime scene with 9/11. They didn't have that control in Oklahoma City. They didn't have a New World Order minion like Giuliani, a globalist shill, profiteer, murderer that has been, ran for president. My Lord, can you imagine what would have happened if Giuliani became president? How much faster this New World Order would have came into place? Anyway, I really shouldn't be interrupting. Now I will be putting some commentaries in from here to time. This is live. I know I did a couple of tape broadcasts because I was feeling sick, but I'm much, much better. Thank you all for a couple people sent some messages. Thank you for your kind words. And yeah, I'm just about back to normal. And let's continue with these, connecting the dots. Now, what's the dots? This building needed controlled demolition, needed explosives to blow up. The Murrow building could not have. It was a hard target, as Bill mentioned. Now I'm going to wait till he's done, and we'll go over all these comparisons in the second half of the show. So let's continue here. I don't want to make any more delays. Here's Bill Cooper.
And so the feds never looked for John Doe number 2. In fact, they ordered their agents not to look for him and sent out instructions to all police departments and agencies that there was no John Doe number 2, that Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols were the only participants in the bombing, and not to look for anybody else. How about that? They're doing the same thing today with Osama bin Laden, and that's where I've been getting at. Can you believe what you have been seeing on CNN today, ladies and gentlemen? Can you believe it? Supposedly, a CNN reporter found Osama bin Laden, took a television camera crew with him, went into Osama bin Laden's house, interviewed him and his top leadership, his top lieutenants and colonels and generals in their hideout. This is a CNN reporter with a camera crew. And he came out and told everybody, within 3 weeks, Osama bin Laden is going to attack the United States and Israel. Now, don't you think that's kind of strange, folks? You see, because the largest intelligence apparatus in the world, with the biggest budget in the history of the world, has been looking for Osama bin Laden for years and years and years, and can't find him.
I want to make a statement here about this, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's the whole point. Way back then, they were already spying on us and watching us and knowing exactly where we are and everything we were doing. And interestingly enough, the Telecommunications Act of 1996 that President Clinton signed into law came into effect on, get this, everybody, October 1st, 2001.
The FBI also, under the leadership of Lewis.
Oh, I would be remiss not to mention that law gave the American people they had to have all this compliance with cell phones so that they can be tracked and all of this other stuff. And it's the Telecommunications Act 1996 came into effect less than a month after 9/11, signed into law in 1996. These things are not coincidences, ladies and gentlemen. This is deliberate and planned.
Free has been looking for Osama bin Laden for years and years and years and years and years and many years, and can't find him. Some doofus jerk-off reporter with a camera crew waltzes right into his hideout and interviews him. And you know what his budget is? Zip, zilch, nothing. Now, that tells us two things. Either everyone in the intelligence community and all of the intelligence agencies of the United States government are blithering idiots and incompetent fools, including the entire apparatus of the FBI and all of their personnel.
Does this sound familiar?
Or they're lying to us. They're not looking for him at all. And the second is the truth. You see, the CIA created Osama bin Laden. They recruited him. They trained him. They found his leadership. They brought them all together. They showed them how to fight Afghanistan, and when that was over, they still continued to fund him and train him, and they're now using him to help bring about world government by making him the big boogeyman, because they can't use Saddam Hussein anymore. Did you ever hear of Osama bin Laden before you heard of Saddam Hussein? When did you start hearing of Osama bin Laden? It was after Saddam Hussein and Iraq were supposedly neutralized in the Gulf War, because they needed a new boogeyman. But they're not looking for Osama bin Laden, because I'm telling you right now, if I were the head of the Central Intelligence Agency, within 2 weeks I would have him dead or in custody without fail. Without fail. If I had those assets and that money, he would be mine. I would own his terrorist ass within 2 weeks without fail. A reporter from CNN and his little camera crew got in to Osama bin Laden's secret hideout and conducted an interview. If you don't believe me, tune into CNN. They're probably running it right now as I'm speaking.
No, they're not, but I will. Let's cut into this and show the Osama bin Laden clip and get into this.
We begin with the story of a shadowy multimillionaire who has declared a holy war against the United States. To some in the Islamic world, he is a hero. To the United States government, though, he is a terrorist, a real threat to the lives of U.S. troops. He is Osama bin Laden, and Impact's Peter Arnett takes us into his hideaway and into his mind with this first-ever television interview.
Amidst these remote mountains of Afghanistan are the various hiding places of one of the world's most wanted men.
Hiding place.
Osama bin Laden.
We declared a jihad, a holy war against the United States government
because it is unjust, criminal, and tyrannical.
The U.S. State Department calls him one of the most significant financial sponsors of Islamic extremism in the world.
There's going to be a lot of truth here that Osama's talking.
Terrorist financier, and with a large fortune of his own, he has bankrolled terrorist groups and individuals all over the world.
And the CIA bankrolled him.
The State Department links the 41-year-old bin Laden to Ramzi Youssef, alleged mastermind of the World Trade Center bombing, New York. An attempted bombing of U.S. troops in 1992, Yemen. Terrorist training camps in Sudan and Afghanistan. Islamic terrorist groups in Egypt and Algeria.
Younger generation, Islamic, especially those Islamic fundamentalists, they are looking for a hero. And Mr. bin Laden fit the bill.
In Western intelligence circles, bin Laden is best known for this document, a call for jihad or holy war against the thousands of U.S. soldiers now stationed in Saudi Arabia. That call to jihad came after 2 bombings of U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia. The first in Riyadh in 1995, 7 dead. The second in Dhahran in 1996, 19 dead, hundreds injured. To support his holy war, sources estimate bin Laden has up to $500 million. To execute the jihad, bin Laden has thousands of committed followers inside Saudi Arabia.
They are either direct followers, taking direct command and order from bin Laden, or they are small cells and groups who believe bin Laden is a godfather. His message is almost like a religious order.
Most of those followers fought alongside bin Laden in an earlier jihad, the 1980s war in Afghanistan against the Soviet Union.
Aha, why don't you talk about Brzezinski, who recruited him
like these from around the Islamic world.
At the Council on Foreign Relations.
They learned how to handle weapons and explosives.
What a propaganda piece this is,
They became known as the Afghan Arabs. Osama bin Laden left his comfortable life in Saudi Arabia to become a leader of the Afghan Arabs. Informed estimates put their numbers between 12,000 and 20,000 men. Bin Laden's victories against the Soviets were well publicized in Saudi Arabia.
Because of that, a lot of people wanted to participate in jihad, and they thought that Osama is an important figure. But he was not only willing to put his money, but he actually gone there himself and fought himself and get hurt.
After the Afghan war, bin Laden became disillusioned with the Saudi regime, deeming it insufficiently Islamic. He moved to Sudan. 5 years later, under U.S. and Saudi pressure, bin Laden was expelled from Sudan. A year ago, bin Laden took refuge here in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is perhaps the only country in the world that will accept him. Our quest to meet bin Laden begins in Peshawar, Pakistan, and then across the Khyber Pass to Jalalabad, Afghanistan, where we wait for several days. Finally, bin Laden's media advisor arrives. We are
His
allowed
liaison
to
from the
take our
CIA.
and sound equipment, but not our camera. There have been assassination attempts against bin Laden, and his security force worries our camera might contain a tracking device that would give away his location. The interview will be conducted with their camera.
Now, why wouldn't they have just beamed in on this guy and taken him out? I'll tell you why, because they don't want him. They didn't want him, they never wanted him.
As night falls, we move to
and more lies are happening today.
Makes its way up a
Like
rough
he
mountain
died
path,
in Muslim tradition, being buried at sea, without any pictures.
We are searched and electronically scanned to ensure that we're not carrying a tracking device. About 5,000 feet up is a small hut. We are allowed about an hour and a half with bin Laden. We have submitted questions in advance. He agrees to answer most of them, but does not allow follow-up questions.
And he gives so much truth here, ladies and gentlemen. Bitter truth, but truth nonetheless.
The US government has committed acts that are extremely unjust, hideous, and criminal through its support of the Israeli occupation of Palestine. And we believe the US is directly responsible for those killed in Palestine, Lebanon, and Iraq. Due to its subordination to the Jews, the arrogance of the United States regime has reached the point that they occupied Arabia, the holiest place of the Muslims, who are more than 1 billion people in the world today. For this and other acts of aggression and injustice, we have declared jihad against the US.
Is the jihad directed against the US government or United States troops in Arabia? What about US civilians in Arabia or the people of the United States?
We have focused our declaration of jihad on striking at the US soldiers inside Arabia, the country of the two holy places, Mecca and Medina. In our religion, it is not permissible for any non-Muslim to stay in Arabia. Therefore, even though American civilians are not targeted in our plan, they must leave. We do not guarantee their safety.
When this guy delivers his statements attacking the U.S. presence or his call for jihad, he is justifying these actions in very explicit Quranic Islamic terms with a law. It's like a careful legal brief.
The U.S. government charges bin Laden with supporting terrorist activities throughout the Middle East.
The U.S. today has set a double standard, calling whoever goes against its injustice a terrorist. It wants to occupy our countries, steal our resources, impose agents on us to rule us, and then wants us to agree to all this. If we refuse to do so, it says we are terrorists.
And that's a very good example of truth.
When Palestinian children throw stones against the Israeli occupation, the U.S. says they are terrorists. Whereas when Israel bombed the United Nations building in Lebanon, while it was full of children and women, the U.S. stopped any plan to condemn Israel.
The U.S. government also points to bin Laden's circumstantial ties to terrorism within the United States.
Mr. bin Laden, if you had an opportunity to give a message to President Clinton, what would that message be?
Mentioning the name of Clinton provokes disgust and revulsion. The president
I agree.
A heart that knows no words. A heart that kills hundreds of children definitely knows no words. Our people in Arabia will send him messages without words, because he does not understand words. If there is a message that I may send through you, I address the mothers of the American troops.
And the mothers should listen to these words.
If they are concerned for their sons, then let them object to the U.S. government's policy.
God bless the U.S. We need it.
Bin Laden is beyond the reach of U.S. law enforcement.
Beyond the reach of U.S. law enforcement, so we have to go to war with Afghanistan. See, they were planning this thing. The troops were all ready to go. Everything was
harsh interpretation of Islam. The Taliban have recently declared that bin Laden is their guest, providing he does not attack other nations. But bin Laden may have other ideas.
What are your future plans?
You'll see them and hear about them in the media, God willing.
To the White House right now, where President Obama is meeting right now with families of American sailors killed in the USS Cole terror attack. Remember that? But not all. Some are boycotting the meeting after charges against the alleged mastermind were dropped. Catherine Herridge in Washington with the very latest. Hey,
welcome to the New World Order.
Thanks, Neil. One of the key questions is, how does putting the trials at Guantanamo Bay on hold bring us any closer to justice for the Cole families or the 9/11 families? In the briefing today, Press Secretary Robert Gibbs appeared to struggle when faced with that question.
I think the President believed that the best course of action going forward to bring about the justice that both he and the family seek in this case was to go through the very process that Judge Crawford has done and the executive order that the President has signed.
The commander of the USS Cole, Kirk Lippold, learned from Fox News that the charges against the alleged planner had been withdrawn without prejudice. That means charges could be brought at a later date. Lippold's response on behalf of Military Families United was that justice delayed was justice denied. Also, the family of Gary Swenchonis Jr., one of the 17 American sailors, declined the White House invitation, in part because with the withdrawal of charges, it was clear the president had made up his mind even before speaking to the families. One of the complaints I've heard now from at least 3 of the Cole families is that they believe this is more than just a policy debate. This is a case where, more often than not, they believe the rights of detainees are being put ahead of the rights of their dead sons. Neil.
Catherine, thank you. Well, Diane McDaniels chose not to meet with the president today either. Her son, James Roderick McDaniels, was one of the sailors killed in the attack on the USS Cole. All she wants, she says, is justice. Diane joins me now. Diane, thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
What did you think of this?
I was totally upset. I really was. I voted for him. Now I'm wondering, I think I made the wrong decision.
You know you made the wrong decision.
Everybody's upset. You know, my son, he was blown up along with 16 others. I buried body parts for 3 years. You know, I'm still suffering. And now he's withdrawing the charges. You know, I just don't understand that, you know. I'm really disillusioned when I'm upset. I mean, there's nothing he can say to me to make me feel differently.
Everybody, wake up. This is how they do it. They're killing us. They're murdering our soldiers. They're sending us to war to kill us and care less for us. And then people that kill us and murder us get away with murder.
You know, with the actions that he's doing, I'm disappointed.
This is the New World
He's
Order.
only been in office for not even a month. And now this is what he's doing.
This is his first evil attempt. Then it was just the beginning. Oh, I'm in a rant. It was just the beginning. A month in, he did this.
It's not that the perpetrators behind the attack that killed your son
I'm so angry.
might be brought to justice, just not now.
Bill Cooper's comments coming after
you're not buying it.
These 2 little videos will continue with Bill and
you know, what? They don't have a reason to delay the trial. Let it go. Let it go.
Bring this all together.
You know, if someone in this country had done that, you know, in other countries, you know, they would have had a trial, or we might be dead by now. You know, to me, he's sending the wrong message to the American people. He really is.
It takes a lot, Diane, for someone to refuse an invite from the President of the United States, whether they like them or not.
That's called being a patriot. Who is he, a king? King Obama?
Well, my daughter, she felt I should go to voice my, one of my daughters said I should go to voice my opinion. And my other daughter said, well, if, you know, he should be impeached, which is, you know, I said that don't have anything to do with it.
Oh, yes, he should. What a great idea.
You know, they really are.
He for 15 different things he's done.
Diane, you know, when you look
and this was the first.
October 2000 attacks, many look at that as that was the opening terror attack that, not quite a year later, brought us to 9/11. And
it's all connected, ladies and gentlemen.
There is a sense
keep connecting the dots.
Some who are worried about terror
keep connecting the dots.
Do you think we are?
Yes, most definitely. I do. Because it's just like now, you know, they can blow up an American ship or blow up anything over here if they can get here. And hey, don't have to worry about any charges.
Sorry, hon, they are here.
He said they may pick it back up later. You know, it's sending the wrong signal out to them. That's what I feel. I feel it's sending out the wrong signal, you know, to the terrorists. You know, it's easy. It's too easy for them.
Do you think that this administration is trying to make nice with our enemies, and that in the big sense that might help us? Or do you think that we're kowtowing to them?
I think it will hurt us. It really will, because what he's doing now, it would definitely hurt us. It's helping them.
Of course they're going to hurt us.
But it's hurting us. And it's nothing, it's nothing he can tell me now. I'm really, really upset with President Obama. You know, I'm disappointed in him, and my family is too. You know, he's sending out the wrong message. You know, he may be president, but he's wrong.
Diane, thank you so much again. Sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Be well. More of this.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's just really unbelievable that this I'm speechless. All right, let's get back to Bill Cooper and keep tying this together. I mean, everybody, I hope this is making an impact that you can just see from the very beginning. I mean, you think he made this decision? He doesn't make decisions. This order is these oligarchs set forth the protocols, and they must be adhered to. You have to play ball, or you end up being basically murdered. I don't know how else to put that, but it is true. Everyone that's ever tried to really buck the trend has found themselves dead. So if you want to run for president and you don't want to have, if you don't want to have any problems and get assassinated, you better just go with the program, whatever that program might be, whatever the globalists say that they want you to do. All right, let me get back to Bill before the end of the show. Just going to queuing a few things here. Again, you're watching Truth Talk News, and Harry Link will be coming up in about 18 minutes here on truthbroadcastnetwork.com. And let me just get to where Bill was speaking.
Hitler was a socialist. He understood social illusion. He understood social engineering. He knew how to get the support of the German people, and he did it by burning down the Reichstag. The Reichstag was, well, in our country, it would be the Capitol building that contains the Senate and the House of Representatives. So if somebody were to go and burn down the Capitol building today, they would use that as an excuse, as Hitler did, to round up all of the enemies of the New World Order, which would be me and most of you listening, and throw us into prison or execute us, declare martial law, and come to absolute Osama bin Laden's targets are supposed to be. And if they don't, if this doesn't materialize in the next 2 or 3 weeks, it will eventually materialize because they haven't succeeded in getting the guns out of the hands of the American people, nor have they succeeded in taking our freedoms away. In fact, there's been a great awakening in this country and a big backlash against these Marxist, communist, puke-faced, lying, subversive, Nazi, jackbooted Gestapo thugs that is gaining momentum. And so I can tell you with a certainty, they must do something terrible in order to stop this backlash and regain the sympathy of the mass herds of sheeple out there. And I'm telling you, one of the things that will give us the moral high ground and will begin civil war is the day that they begin declaring martial law across this country, taking guns out of the hands of the American people and rounding up American patriots. The war will start on that day. on that day. And there will be a war in this country, a civil war to restore, not a revolution, but a civil war to restore constitutional Republican government. Now, at the same time that that's going on, communist and Marxist underground forces will begin, or try to begin, a revolution in order to institute a Marxist, socialist, or communist government as a result of the Civil War. So we, patriots, will be fighting on two fronts. On two fronts. And you'd better understand which side you're going to be on. Restoration, revolution, or tyranny. I'll be fighting with the forces of restoration, and so should you better be. And supposedly, we're not the only nation searching for Osama bin Laden. So the vast economic resources, the vast technological resources, the vast personnel resources, the vast networks and intricate web spun over all these years by the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA can't find Osama bin Laden, but CNN can? Bullshit. Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols
ladies and gentlemen, after 9/11.
could? Bullshit.
Found him by a CIA
So many people in this country have their heads so far up their ass, I doubt very seriously if they will manage to extricate it before they suffocate.
I agree, Bill. 100%, unfortunately. We have to wake these sheeple up. Definitely. It's incredible.
What a shame.
Yes. A terrible shame. A hellish shame.
What a crying shame.
Hellish
How
shame.
in the world could this country of all nations breed such a dumbed down, unthinking, illiterate, uneducated, stupid, ignorant population? Anybody got a clue?
This is Dennis in Indiana.
Yeah.
You know me. I've got the Cremation Act, Indiana Code here.
Uh-huh.
And in Indiana, you can't be cremated until 48 hours after the death.
How about that? Yeah, but they did it immediately, didn't they?
It says except when waived in writing by city or county health officer.
Yeah, and why would they do that?
Well, there's a paper trail there to maybe follow.
Yep.
I just found that out from a mortician the other day, so I thought I'd check out the facts and give you a call.
Great. Thank you.
Care.
Thank you. Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
According to the federal government, Timothy McVeigh was cremated, within 12 hours of being executed. Good evening. You're on the air.
Good evening, Bill. Stephen Maine.
Hi.
You heard of a Pam Shuffert?
Yeah, she's full of crap.
Okay. Wanted to check on it because I got an email this morning saying that she'd been over in the Balkans talking to these
She's full of crap.
stormtroopers.
Full of crap. She's what you call a disinformation agent.
COINTELPRO. That's what she's called. A COINTELPRO shill. The worst of the worst. The lowest scum on earth.
I had read on the internet today a couple of things about Osama bin Laden, too. With regards to the CNN reporter getting into his ultra-secret lair, whatever the hell it is, And I couldn't help thinking the same thing.
Must be on the moon, huh?
Well, yeah,
How'd this reporter get there,
It's amazing how you have all the American intelligence agencies, British intelligence agencies, everybody's looking for this guy. And all of a sudden, some clown comes in with a camera and, now he's on TV. Oh, here he is.
Let me tell you something. If he's an enemy of Israel and the Mossad can't find him, then this thing is the biggest joke that you ever heard of in your life.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually trying to explain to some friends this weekend, about how Osama bin Laden is just the next. I even said he was the next Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, he's the next boogeyman.
Find some dark-skinned guy, and everybody can go, "Ooh, we hate dark-skinned people."
Remember, this is 1990.
And hide behind this guy.
This is excuse me.
I actually think
June 28th, 2001. It says right before.
But
no, that's not true. It is
right
very
before 9/11.
That it will.
Well, I mean, in the next 2 weeks, if anything does happen. What about the 4th of July? It's the 225th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, what about it?
You know,
that's a good time for it to happen.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope not. But
I hope not too. But I'm telling you right now, as I told you before, I'm telling you that something's going to happen. If it doesn't happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks, something terrible is going to happen in this country, and it's going to be a terrorist attack.
And we're going to know who did it.
And
we're going to watch CNN and whatever, and they're going to go, oh,
and it's going to be big enough that martial law could be declared, and it could start the whole thing.
Well, thank you for getting the truth out, and you have a good evening, sir.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Bye.
I'm Howard Nema, and you're watching Truth Talk News on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com. Going to do a little summary after the little break here, and then you'll be joined by Harry Link, Death to the New World Order, here on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com. And this is Azure Soul with the New World Order. Okay, we're back. I'm Howard Nema, and you're watching Truth Talk News on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com. And yeah, there is an alarm. Some alarming facts. I mean, what are the facts? Well, fact is, when President Kennedy was assassinated, all protocols for murder, which is a state crime, were not adhered to. In fact, it really was, as Jim Garrison said, it was like a getaway. They took the president's body. He's the president, yet it's a murder. You heard earlier about Timothy McVeigh and how they went against state regulation. You heard from a caller on Bill Cooper's broadcast confirming that the law, of course, was a 2-day wait, and they did it right away. And an autopsy was not performed. The president, of course, had a quick autopsy and made their determinations. There were admirals and all this other things. It's a state crime, constitutionally. But again, when you have a coup d'etat by the New World Order, they're going to break protocol. They're going to try to get everybody to not think about the Constitution. Oh, it's not important. We're not going to do these things. Like Obama, we're going to pass all these laws, but we'll never do it. I'd never do that. I'd never detain Americans indefinitely without a trial. Well, the Supreme Court, thank God, or they came to the conclusion that it's unconstitutional, but that provision. But look at what our government's doing. And then what about the setups here I use these sources. I talk about this all the time, but I'm going to try to be a little more using like show and tell, ladies and gentlemen, for lack of a better word, and trying to get people to understand how the past is prologue. And if we do not remember the past, we are condemned to forget it or repeat it. So if we forget the past, we will repeat it. We will not be able to see the telltale signs of tyranny, even if we look to them. When you try to see what's going on in this country and you try to rationalize it, it's virtually impossible to do that. Without understanding that you're being manipulated by the media and all these other forces and all these other sources, and the lies are so great. And then 9/11, the same thing. The Patriot Act, Rudy Giuliani cleaning up the crime scene immediately, just like Oklahoma City. And then you heard about the microchips with Timothy McVeigh. These people are, MK Ultra victims. And then all the strange things going on that are large events. When they have these big world events, these big events, they are designed to destroy us, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I'll be here again tomorrow night with some incredible commentary. I'm going to put my entire broadcast, the section from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com. And I'm going to make commentary over the debate between King Obama and Robomny and expose as much as I possibly can the fact that both of these criminals are intent upon bringing in a new world order. These people are not going to help our country, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to point it out as best I can. Now we have Harry Link with Death to the New World Order. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow night.